Mayor's asked that I conduct the beginning portion of this meeting. He will be joining us later, and I will gladly vacate this seat for him. May we have the roll call, please? Connie.
Adamson.
Here.
Gray. Cheatham.
Here.
Johnston.
Here.
Lurie.
Here.
Kanan.
Here.
Lash.
Okay, thank you very much. You have before you the invocation, item number 2. If all arise, Tony, if you'll come up to that for us, please.
Pledge.
Oh, and then the pledge. Do I do pledge first?
Pledge first. Do the pledge first.
Oh, thank you so much. Please follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, Tony, thank you.
I would like to share a quote from His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama with advice on how to live a life, knowing that each of us suffers and each of us has doubts. There is only one important point you must keep in your mind and let it be your guide. No matter what people call you, you are just who you are. Keep to this truth. You must ask yourself, how is it you want to live your life? We live and we die. This is the truth that we can only face alone. No one can help us, not even the Buddha. So consider carefully what prevents you from living the way you want to live your life. The more you are motivated by love, the more fearless and free your action will be. The more you are motivated by love, the more fearless and free your action will be. Council President Johnson and members of the council, thank you for your continued service to the people of Pocatello.
Thank you for your kindness. We'll turn to agenda item number 3, the consent agenda. The following business items may be approved by one motion and a vote. If any one member of the council so desires, any matter listed can be moved to a separate agenda item. Item A, minutes. Council may wish to waive the oral reading of the minutes and approve the minutes from clarification meeting and regular council meetings of September 19th, 2019, the special city council meeting, council liaison work session, clarification meeting of October 17th, 2019, and the joint city Bannock County School District number 25 ISU meeting of October 24th of 2019. Item number B, payroll and material claims. Council may wish to consider payroll and material claims for the month of October 2019. Ashley, please.
Good evening, Council President, Council. Ashley Welsh, Chief Financial Officer, here to present the payroll and claims report for October 2019. Total payroll and material claims for the month were $7,716,460, of which payroll-related claims totaled $3,786,133. We had changes in filled positions of an increase of 3 full-time, a decrease of 1 half-time, a decrease of 12 part-time, and a decrease of 7 seasonal, for an overall decrease of 17 positions. Vendor claims for the month were $3,930,327, and the large vendor claims are listed. I'll go over the top 4. We paid ICRIMP $348,934 for 50% of our annual policy premium. PNC Equipment Finance $203,344 for a pumper payment, fire truck payment. Summit National Bank $155,418 for a water wheel loader lease, and Mickelson Construction $241,313 for water and street sanitation asphalt. The remaining large vendor claims explain 85.36% of all the vendor claims for the month. On the back of the report, we've given you information on our October purchase card activity. You can see we had 1,213 transactions for $554,583. and we had 167 cardholders with transactions for the month of October. We also had 14 purchase agents with monthly totals greater than $10,000, and the types of expenditures are listed for your review. This completes my report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ashley. Agenda item number 2 continues with number C, Child Care Advisory Committee reappointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Corey Lewis to continue her service as a member of the Child Care Advisory Committee. Ms. Lewis's term will begin November 6, 2019, and will expire November 6th of 2023. Item D, Pocatello Regional Airport Commission reappointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Michelle Paletti to continue her service as a member of the Pocatello Regional Airport Commission. Ms. Paletti's term will begin November 20th, 2019, and will expire November 20th of 2021. Planning and Zoning Commission appointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's appointment of Jill Kirkham to serve as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, replacing Ryan Loveland, who resigned. Ms. Kirkham's term will begin November 8th, 2019, and expire July 13th of 2021.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd move to approve agenda item number 3, the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying.
Roll call.
Roll call. I forget what meeting I'm in.
It's okay.
Please, may we have the roll call, Connie?
Cheatham,
Yes.
Adamson,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Flurick,
Yes.
Manon.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I see we have some scouts in the audience. Could we have some introductions? Let's start over here. Would one of you like to say where you're from?
Troop 317,
Very good. What merit badge are you working on?
communications.
Wonderful. That's a good hard one. I'm glad you're here. Hope we can help you with that. Over here?
I'm Lance from Troop 328.
And Lance, what merit badge are you working on?
I'm just listening to the city council and
Very good. Anything else we want to report? Are there other scouts present? Go ahead.
I'm Spencer Longman. I'm from Troop 328.
Is that your grandpa next to you?
Great-grandpa.
Great-grandpa. Good friend.
Grandpa.
Thank you very much. We're pleased that you're here. We have no communications or proclamations this evening for agenda item number 4. And agenda number 5 is our calendar review. November 14th at 9 a.m. there will be a work session following a special meeting at 1:30 on the 14th of November with the county commissioners. On November 21st at 2 p.m. there will be a city council work session, clarification, and council liaison meeting. On the 21st also we have at 5:30 a clarification meeting, at 6 p.m. a regular council meeting. We have several other events that we need to draw your attention to. On November the 11th, the city offices will be closed in observation of Veterans Day. However, garbage, compost, and recycling pickup will remain on the regularly scheduled days. Also, on Veterans Day, the open house for the Brady Chapel at the Mountain View Cemetery will take place between 11 and 4 p.m. The HPC members will share historic information about the chapel that day. It's very interesting. I hope you'll attend. Our annual leaf collection will continue through November 30th. Leaves must be placed in compostable bags, not boxes or plastic bags. Leaves will be picked up according to the regular collection day schedule and taken to the Bannock County landfill compost site. We want to wish good luck to our high school football teams this weekend. And this weekend is also the last ISU home game with kickoff at 2:30. Any other items that any council member would like to draw to our attention? Thank you very much. Okay. Item number 6, child care license denial appeals. We have 3 of these. And after Janae has made her presentation and we have concluded with the message, Janae will meet with the 3 people on Friday. Since it would take a long time tonight, she will meet with you on Friday. Let's go ahead with item number A. Shane Burrell will be present to appeal the decision of police department staff which denied Mr. Burrell a child care license. Janae, please.
Thank you. Good evening, members of City Council. Janae Perman, Pocatello Police Licensing. After careful consideration, the Pocatello Police Department denied Shane Burrell a child care license due to a 2013 conviction of petty theft, which is considered a violation of moral turpitude and the basis for the denial.
Okay.
Any questions?
Shane, would you like to come forward and indicate your reason for the appeal?
I'm Shane Burrell. I've been denied this license because of this petty theft charge, which really was not my doing in the first place. My wife had written some bad checks. This was before we were married. She had written some bad checks on an account that I just added her to. I did not know that these checks had been written until the bank sent me a letter saying they were closing my account. When I went to the bank to find out what was going on, I seen all these checks that had come out. I didn't know who wrote these checks. I thought that the checkbook had been stolen. So I reported the checkbook stolen. Then, when she left me for a couple of weeks and went back to where I had first met her, I went in and I told the police because I found out afterward that she had written these checks. I went in and I told the police what had happened, yet I was still, whenever I went in and told them what happened, it was at that time that they handed me a summons to go to court for a petty theft charge. We were both tried at the same time on this, her going first. They found her guilty. Me, I had a different attorney. They found me guilty also of something that I didn't even do. I don't feel that I should be excluded from being able to work at the daycare because really all I want to do, I don't want to be there when the kids are there anyway. I've raised my kids and I'm now raising one of my grandkids. I was wanting to be there in the morning to clean the walks so that when the parents and the children show up that they're clean. They don't have to go through the snow and the ice to get to the door. So that I could help them clean in the daycare after hours. That's all I really wanted to do. I didn't want to be with the children all day anyway.
Any questions of Mr. Burrell?
I have a question. Did you notify the department on your application of this incident?
Well,
when
no,
you
I
submitted your
didn't
application?
go into detail about it. The application just asked what I had been convicted of,
And you told them?
and that's what I put down.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Mr. Burrell. Janae, any response, any comments? Anything else?
No.
What's the pleasure of the group?
I have a question for Janae.
Okay.
Could you remind us what are the rules for being on premise at a daycare facility? Like, do you have to have a license in order to do work there, even if the children are not present? Just
So
remind us
yes,
of what that.
if you're on premise any more than 12 hours in a month's time, you have to have a license. Be it a resident license, which Mr. Burrell would be applying for, or an employee, volunteer, what have you. So it's 12 hours a month, or if you have any unsupervised contact with the children.
But if he's saying he's not there when the kids are there, the children are there, but if it goes over 12 hours?
Yes, so it's on premise, which means the facility itself. Even though the children aren't there, if he's at the premise more than 12 hours in a month's time, he's still required to have a license. Any other questions?
I guess I have one, but I guess probably for the daycare owner, if they're aware of the incident? They are? And you're okay with it?
What's the pleasure of the group?
You know, it feels like this one's a little different, where what Mr. Burrell was apparently convicted of has nothing to do with children. And I guess I feel like that makes it a little different than the others that we've considered. I would move we approve the appeal.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Connie, call the roll.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Adamson,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes. The appeal is upheld. You're very welcome. Oh, my machine's died on me here. Who's our next person, please? Okay, thank you. Hannah Fink will be present to appeal the decision of the police department staff which denied Ms. Fink a child care license. Please go ahead, Janae.
Janae Perman, Pocatello Police Licensing. After careful consideration, the Pocatello Police Department denied Hannah Fink the renewal of her child care license due to her admission of being in possession of a controlled substance during a traffic stop in August of 2019. Fink also failed to disclose this incident on her application.
Any questions of Janae? Ms. Fink, are you present? Just one. Touch it.
I don't feel like I should be denied because I love my children. I love working with children. It's what I want to do forever. I was honest about everything. I never lied. I love what I do.
Can you explain to the council what the actual charge was here?
So she admitted to being in possession of a controlled substance.
Okay.
What was that controlled substance?
Marijuana.
Is there a reason you didn't put that on your
So the reason why it
application?
was not on my application was I had been standing right next to my boss, and I had asked her many times to help me with things, and this was one of the things I had asked her. I asked her if I needed it on my application. I read it. I read the application. She said no. So I didn't think that it needed to be on there. It's been dismissed. I've done everything I've been asked. So I didn't put it on there because I didn't think it needed to be on there.
Other questions? Thank you very much. Janae, anything else?
I have a question. I don't know if you have this handy or not, but could you read for us the section on the application that was in question about
Disclosing?
Most
what
definitely.
needs to be disclosed? Would you read that section to us?
So the question itself asks, have you ever been convicted of, pled guilty to, or admitted to any violation of criminal law or had a withheld judgment for any crime committed?
So this was the admission that was the fault?
Correct.
So even though it was dismissed, it was admitted to prior to being dismissed?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the question seems pretty clear that what answer you're looking for there.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, Janae. Pleasure of the group.
I have less sympathy for illegal drugs. I would move to deny the appeal.
You've heard the motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Second was by,
Second was by Addison.
She may have beaten me out, but
Well,
it's okay.
we'll give it to
Yeah.
Manon, okay? They were both quick. Any additional comments? Please call the roll. Connie?
Cheatham,
Yes.
Manon,
yes.
Adamson,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Johnston,
No. The appeal is denied. Okay, let's go to number 3, Singleton. Erica Singleton will be present to appeal the decision of Police Department staff which denied Ms. Singleton a child care license.
They use it for therapy and other places, 5 miles over.
Owner of America is beautiful child is present. And then for her license. I guess you don't need one to use.
But that's,
Thank you.
that's not the thing.
Sure. So she's just
I can
hear
test.
that. The owner of a beautiful child is here. She's present. She's also wrote a letter for her.
There's an extra one for each
Okay, go ahead, Janae, please.
Janae Perman, Pocatello Police Licensing. After careful consideration, the Pocatello Police Department denied Erica Singleton a child care license due to her admission of being in possession of drug paraphernalia during an incident that occurred in 2014. Single also failed to disclose this incident on her application.
Any questions of Janae at this point? Okay, Ms. Singleton, if you'd come forward, please.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to start. I'm here hoping to appeal your guys' decision to deny that. It was during a time in my life where I was with my ex-husband and victim of domestic violence quite frequently. I didn't even remember this even existed when I filled out the application, or I would have included it on there. In fact, when I called and was talking to her about it, it took me quite a ways into the phone call for my memory to be like, oh, okay, now I know what you're talking about. My ex-husband and I were living in Utah at the time. We started fighting and he was hitting me. The police were called in regards to a domestic violence situation between he and I. While talking to the police, they noticed that there was a marijuana pipe on the table. It did belong to my ex-husband. Obviously quite afraid of him because I called the cops quite frequently on him, but in the report and to the cops I stated that it belonged to him and I both. However, at the time I was pregnant, I wasn't using. I was definitely terrified that if they arrested him and I didn't admit that it belonged to both of us, that he may come home later and that I would be in more trouble than I was already in. But I was never charged, never convicted. I've had kids since then. I don't do anything. I've cleaned up, moved away from him, and started a much better life. So I'm just really, really hoping that you guys can see that not disclosing it was really just, I didn't remember that it even happened.
Any questions of Ms. Singleton?
What was the date again? That was 2014?
June 2014, I'm sorry.
Yep, it was June 2014.
Council President, if I may, just for the purpose of the record, that make it clear that Janae passed out a letter apparently of support on behalf of Ms. Singleton, just so that everyone knows what was passed out.
Thank you for that recognition. We do all have copies of that, and we'll enter that into the record. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Janae, any other comments, any questions of anyone?
Question for Janae. Janae, I know you don't take these decisions lightly. I know you really go through the applications and you give a lot of time and thought to them. Can you kind of explain your process when you do catch something that should have been listed on an application and it's not? I mean, I think you usually try to call and see if the person will tell you
yes.
about it over the phone, right?
Generally, what I'll do is if I see some sort of something that's reason for denial, depending on what it is, obviously, I usually give the applicant a chance to explain why it wasn't on the application.
Okay.
And did you get a good, I mean, what was the response when you called this applicant?
As Erica stated, it took her for a bit to
remember.
acknowledge it, remember it. I'm not quite sure. But she did, at the end of the phone call, she did admit to it and tell me exactly what she told you guys.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anyone have a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to approve this appeal. I feel like this situation is a little bit different. And it sounds like, I mean, maybe this might not have even been Ms. Singleton's paraphernalia, but also that there were circumstances here that were different and things have changed for the better. It helps for me to have this letter of support from her employer that kind of backs up what she's saying. So I'm going to say we appeal this and give her the benefit of the doubt. I mean, we grant the appeal, excuse me.
Grant the appeal. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second? I've been told I need to ask that 3 times. Is there a second? Hearing no second, motion dies for lack of second.
Do we need another motion?
We'll need a motion to uphold the denial. Won't we? Don't we?
It dies for lack of a motion, so then the appeal dies, is what we've done in the past, is
Okay,
denied.
so the appeal is denied. Thank you very much. We'll go now to the public hearing. Public hearing for the fiscal year 2020 program of the project under transit. And this time has been set aside for the council to receive comments from the public regarding the approval of the following grants. And I guess I better read all that before I open it.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. A, Federal Transit Administration Rural Idaho Transportation Department grants 5311 and 5310 in the amount of $737,014 and $164,000 for fiscal year 2020. Required local match is $361,405. No city funds are used for this rural program. B, Federal Transit Administration Urban Grant 5307 in the amount of $1,321,134 for fiscal year 2020 with a local share of $587,784. Local share is available in the fiscal year 2020 public transit budget. And C, authorize the Public Transit Director to make necessary amendments and modifications relating to the grants subject to legal department review. I declare the public hearing open. Skylar, if you'd come forth and give your presentation.
Good evening, Council President and Council. Skylar Beebe, City of Pocatello Public Transit Director. The proposed 5307 grant provides funding to public transit systems in the urbanized areas for public transit, public transportation, capital, planning, and operating expenses. The Federal Transit Administration grants operating and capital funds by population to eligible providers to support public transportation. These funds will be utilized for funding the department's day-to-day operations, a facility lease, our non-fixed route door-to-door service, preventive maintenance, indirect costs, planning, and capital. The proposed 5310 grant provides funding to address transportation needs to elderly persons with disabilities. To elderly and persons with disabilities, excuse me. This funding will be utilized for our ongoing mobility management, used to increase access to information and improve the coordination of transportation services. Funding will also be utilized for a bus stop improvement project in the location of Daya Grant, which will include improved ADA compliant ramps, sidewalk renovations, and a bus shelter. The proposed 5311 grant provides capital planning and operating assistance to states and to support public transportation in rural areas with populations less than 50,000, where many residents often rely on public transportation to reach their destinations. These funds will be used to be utilized in funding our day-to-day operations, administration, preventive maintenance, capital, and mobility management. No city funds are used for this program. This concludes my report, and I will now address any questions.
The match on the rural grant, where is that coming from if it's not from the city?
Those come from revenues that we make through our Medicaid services, contributions from the counties and other agencies that we serve throughout the counties, and revenues that we receive from advertising.
Other questions or comments? Skylar, has there been any written correspondence that's been submitted for the record?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you.
We have not received any in the clerk's office either. sir.
Okay, thank you. Is there any testimony for support of the application? Is there any testimony of those uncommitted to the application? Is there testimony in opposition to the application?
Thank you. Nikki Taysom, General Delivery, Pocatello, Idaho 83201. I'm opposed to the application for several reasons. One, especially in the urban program, that is in the hole pretty much every single month. I started attending these meetings in 2011 in May. In July of that year, there was a budget of $7.1 million in that transit system. They only made 11 cents on the dollar. And these are taxpayer dollars. And although with the urban, it supposedly is coming from Medicaid and other counties, that's still taxpayer dollars. And there are people who definitely need rides, especially elderly or people with special needs, but we have private individuals who want to provide that and can provide that, but are often in competition and can't afford to provide that because they're paying for excess charges and taxes and fees and insurance. And if that money were back in their pockets to buy a handicap accessible van, that would be being done. And that's also why I question why the urban counties don't provide those services. And also, with some of these rides, I mean, if you're willing to offer the service, then charge a fee that pays for the costs. I mean, I know in the past you paid 90 cents to go from the middle of town clear out to the mall, whereas how much did that ride actually cost? It doesn't even cover the bus driver's wage or benefits or the cost of the bus, the oil, the gas, the maintenance, the storage, things like that, the insurance. So if you're going to provide a service, it's got to balance out at total cost from those using that service, not people that aren't using it, because that's not fair. I don't get something back for my dollar. And I'm not going to use a service that grossly misuses hard-earned funds of people. I just watched a foreclosure on the county steps about 2 weeks ago, and small businesses going under. And so we have a constitution that declares that we are to budget constitutionally and use funds appropriately acquired through proper taxation. And I call on you to uphold and obey that as a republic under God and our Constitution. Thank you in the name of Jesus.
Are there any others who are opposed to the application? Okay, we will close the, let's see. Skylar, do you have any comments that you want to make in rebuttal? Okay, if not, we will close the hearing. I declare the public hearing closed. That is so fun.
Enjoying that, aren't you, Jeff?
I really am. Council, this item is before you. How would you wish to proceed?
Mr. President, I would move to approve agenda item number 7, the transit grant applications A, B, subject to legal department review.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second. A, B, and C.
Yes,
A, B, and
C,
C.
okay.
You've heard the motion and the second. Discussion. Okay. Go ahead and call for the vote on this one.
Yes, sir.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call, please.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Adamson,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes. Okay, the motion carries. Anything else on that?
Nope, that's it. Great job.
Thank you. Okay, number 8, the final plat on Copper Creek has been pulled from the agenda, and it will be dealt with at our meeting on November the 21st. I should have announced that at the beginning, but I neglected.
I'm sorry, I forgot to read the check.
And she's been really good at reminding me. Okay, let's go to agenda item number 9, appeal of HPC condition of approval, 312 West Center Street. Dane Simmons Jr., mailing address 123 North Main Street, Pocatello, Idaho, 83204, has appealed the Historic Preservation Commission, HPC's, condition of approval for the certificate of appropriateness for the new windows at 312 West Center Street. The Skolanob, is that how I say that thing? Thank you. Building. HPC approved replacing the windows, but with the condition that the anodized aluminum edging be painted or wrapped with vinyl to match the wood trim. Mr. Simmons, if you'd make your appeal presentation, please.
I don't get a formal introduction.
You have to introduce yourself.
Yes, just say your name. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Just for them. They make the decision.
This is my first time doing it. Well, my name is Dane Simmons, and I am a local here in Pocatello, Idaho. 2020 marks half of my life spent in Pocatello, Idaho. Came up here on a football scholarship to Idaho State University. Shortly after, finished my undergrad and then went to graduate school at Idaho State University. Went on to start several businesses here in Pocatello. We bring a lot of jobs to the area. We've brought millions of dollars into the territory. I've invested that money in Old Town to try to bring it back. So let's talk about 312 West Center, a building I purchased last year. I've been very fortunate working with the Pocatello Development Authority. They approved a $75,000 grant and a $120,000 low interest loan so we can rehab this building. And let me tell you, it's looking immaculate. Now, the windows. It's comical. These windows, these aluminum windows cost $8,000. And as you can see, if you flip the page, we did not touch any of the pre-existing wood frames of the building. We had to actually break the windows out to put in the new window frames. So we did not touch anything with the historical part of the building. This next picture is, the irony of it is, there's an architect that's down in Pocatello, Idaho, who specializes in historic preservation. And you can see the same windows that are being denied are right on the window frame right there, okay? So I did a little research study for you guys. I went around, took pictures for everybody. I visited 43 buildings in Old Town, and just to see what kind of window frames and storefronts they had. So 43 buildings, 31 of them had silver metal windows, just like mine. 6 had bronze metal windows. 3 had other colors of metal windows. 4 had a wood frame. 2 had painted windows that were of the aluminum, which was a recommendation I do for our building. And there was absolutely no vinyl windows on storefronts in Old Town. The next page, you'll see what painted aluminum windows look like, the chip paint, okay? So the grant was approved, and then the historic department, they denied it. Well, they approved it with two conditions: to either paint the aluminum, which we know is going to fail, or wrap it in vinyl, which there's no vinyl in Old Town at all. So there is a basis of some type of subjection, and I'm just here to get answers. Like, what is the issue?
Any questions of Mr. Simmons? Thank you very much. We'll now have some response from Melanie, please. Don't go far.
I won't.
Let's see.
Good evening, council members. I'm Melanie Gigley, and I'm the Director of Planning and Development Services. I'm here before you because Terry New, who has been the Historic Preservation Commission liaison, no longer works in planning, to my great dismay.
Where did she go?
She's in HR now.
Really?
When that happened.
Well, good for her. Okay, sorry for you.
Great, good for her. Yes, thank you. Before you this evening is the appeal by Dane Simmons regarding a condition attached to the certificate of appropriateness issued by the HPC. He's described their action fairly clearly. He did have existing single pane wood-clad windows. They were replaced with double pane aluminum windows at 312 West Center within the downtown historic district. At the time of the HPC's review, the windows had been installed, but a certificate of appropriateness was issued. That certificate did contain a condition that the anodized aluminum be either painted or wrapped in colored vinyl to match the existing wood trim. This is to help maintain the look of historic character while still allowing for the change in windows. I really have nothing else unless you have questions.
I just wanted to clarify or ask for clarification about, Mr. Simmons mentioned several times there are no vinyl windows, but vinyl windows are something different than aluminum windows wrapped in vinyl.
Yes.
Aren't they?
Yes.
So do we have any other cases in town? I mean, are we saying there are no buildings with vinyl windows, which also wouldn't be historical, but are there any buildings with aluminum with vinyl?
I would defer to that. I can't answer that one. I suspect that what the HPC was doing was trying to find a balance where it would cover the aluminum look with something that would come closer to matching the wood, at least in color.
And that's why I'm asking, because the idea here is to try to cover it so it doesn't look aluminum, because that doesn't fit with the historical
I believe that's their
character. So, but there was never an option of having vinyl windows, right?
It was, the presentation, the request for certificate was after the windows had been installed. To my knowledge, vinyl windows are not going to be approvable either without some kind of work. I don't know. I understand from the HPC members that there is a way to install windows that would have preserved the look because they would have been down below the wood or something, and you're getting into territory I'm very shaky on. But that there could be a way that this kind of window wouldn't need this kind of treatment because of a different installation process.
Go ahead.
One other question,
Please.
Excuse me. Can you speak at all to other buildings in Old Town that appear to have anodized windows? Are there exceptions and reasons for those exceptions? Or
there could be similar exceptions as to perhaps what happened here. They could have been windows that were done before the historic district was put into place. So a lot of the older buildings had facades that were, pardon the word, maybe compromised as far as the historic nature is concerned before the historic district was in place, which was in either 84 or 85. So some of them had already been changed. And generally then replacement of those windows are not a major problem. But there are other places, yes, absolutely, that have metal windows. Other times people have done them, have wanted to put vinyl in or aluminum in, HPC has denied them, and then sometimes the appeal's been approved. I can't cite chapter and verse for each building. I know one example is Station Square. It's a fairly recent one where upper windows were changed out and they did not want to put in wood.
So there are some vinyl windows in Old Town.
Vinyl, I can't, and vinyl and or metal, like the upper ones on Station Square, I'm not sure what they're made of, but I know that those were done through an appeal process. There may be other vinyl, like I say, I'm deferring. I haven't done an inspection.
If there are vinyl, are they colored vinyl or are they?
They could be.
White? We don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, Melanie. Anything else, Dane, that you'd
Yes,
like to say?
I can answer a lot of questions. First of all, Melanie, you've been amazing to work with, and you shouldn't be up here fighting for it because you have been doing great on the PDA side. So I apologize. I mean, she did not deny this, so you shouldn't be up here fighting for it. So to answer your questions, there are no vinyl windows on the storefront. There are apartments in Old Town that have vinyl windows and for living in Old Town, but there are no these are storefront windows. And as of recently, Off the Rails Brewery, where this page right here, this was just approved by the PDA and the Historic Department. Those are the same exact windows. That's within the last couple months. Within the last couple months.
They were approved?
Do we know, Melanie?
Yeah.
Maury?
They did come for a certificate of appropriateness.
Yeah.
It was approved for their overall facade renovation on both the front and the rear. That one, I believe, had already had some storefront aluminum windows in it. And this was also a fairly major change, I think. So sometimes it's what's also been historically occurred.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much.
I'll let you draw the conclusions.
Okay.
I have some discussion.
Okay, discussion, please.
So the main thing, I also wanted to comment, I have driven by the property just to take a look at it.
I did too. I walked over
I
today.
didn't know if I needed to
Don't need to
declare
disclose.
that or not.
The same thing as we saw in the pictures.
Yes. I love history. I love our historic Old Town. I have a bachelor's degree in history, actually, but I did not find this to be a terrible blight. In fact, I found it to look a lot better, and I appreciate the efforts that are going into our historic downtown, and I appreciate Mr. Simmons for wanting to invest in Old Town and for, having that desire to help improve and better our city. I do agree that I think painting these would be a mistake because that's just a problem waiting to happen down the road. We know that's not going to be a long-term great solution. The unfortunate thing in this situation is this is one of those asking for forgiveness rather than permission situations, and so I just want to make sure that we kind of state on the record that any other work that you're doing downtown or any other applicants, please don't come to us and assume that if we pass off on these windows tonight, that means we're just going to always let everybody do whatever they want, whenever they want, and just ask after the fact, right? So that would be my one comment that I think we need to just put out there. But I do think that that these windows look good, and so I would, let me see what my motion needs to be. Oh, do you have more?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I guess, Melanie, how does this action, if we approve it, changing these windows on this building, how does that affect the availability of future tax credits for this building? Or how does it affect the overall historic nature of Old Town?
Well, the overall historic nature is a pretty broad thing, but what you have is buildings that are, tax credits first, it's easiest. Historic tax credits, once you've done something like that, generally are not going to be available. I don't know that you could, it may be possible that you could go backwards and put wood-clad windows in or whatever and restore that. But that would be a question for the State Historic Preservation Office and the Historic Tax Credit people.
Would the paint or the wrap give it the potential of having that back again?
It's really going to be a call for an architectural historian or an architect. It's possible it would improve it. It's chances, but again, it's no longer a historic material. Sorry, I completely derailed myself. As far as the overall district, buildings are either significant, contributory, or not contributory. To have an intact district, the majority need to be, you draw boundaries that have the designations, at least mostly then, of significant or contributory. Ultimately, if none of the buildings are, you can't really draw a district. Whether any given set of windows or any given building would change this district, I doubt it, any given building, but overall, would it ultimately change anything? And then I don't know that the National Park Service that made the designation comes and tells you that. And also this is a local district. It's both by ordinance of the council and by the national list. I know that's not a very good answer, but I think there are a lot of unknowns that I honestly am not prepared to answer.
Any other questions or comments?
Are you going to make your motion? Yeah. Okay, before you do. Yes. I don't disagree with anything that Heidi said, but the thing that makes me a little bit uncomfortable is there's a reason for having those requirements and those conditions, possibly. And when you make an exception, sort of arbitrarily, then how do you enforce it the next time? And then it ends up, the requirements are they become meaningless, because how do you say one person doesn't have to do it, but another person does have to do it? So I guess my question, Melanie, would be, and maybe you've pretty much already answered this, but what is the reasoning of, it's really just maintaining the historic character of this building.
It really, when you make exterior changes in the district, the idea is that you are maintaining what the look was in the period of significance, which was the 30s to 40s along in there, which are then, in this case, they would be wood windows or wood clad or aluminum windows installed in such a way that, you get the good up-to-date windows, which are a great idea, but you don't see that, you still see the wood. And the idea is the historic look, because that's the style of windows that were used at the time.
And I guess one last question to Mr. Simmons.
Yes, I'll try. Sorry it's going so long, but it's probably entertaining.
Does it concern you at all about the potential of losing any
credits?
Historic tax credits?
So both of my buildings that I own in Old Town are in what is called the Opportunity Zone. And so that doesn't bother me at all. And so I'm going to leverage the buildings I own to get tax credits anyways, because they're in the Opportunity Zone. And so that's how I was going to answer your question. And to your last question about the wood frames, the wood frames on our building are still there. We didn't take any wood out at all. We just took the glass out. And so all I literally told the glass company to match the last two buildings that were retrofitted that have already been approved. I said, match the same thing they did, go ahead and do it. While I'm in process, it takes a month to get on the agenda. So I had them do it, and it was close to the timeline. And technically, the city is paying for the windows, and the PDA has already approved the money to be approved. And so there needed to be 2 approvals on this. And the problem I have is the recommendations are not in line with the criteria of historic Old Town. That's the real problem. Vinyl and painting is not.
I have a question relative to the approval. If we are not in compliance, is that approval really there?
I'm sorry.
With the PDA.
The PDA?
Yeah.
The issue with the PDA, when they have agreed to fund a project, before they pay for the project, they have, whatever it is, has to have whatever permits and inspections are required. In this instance, there were no building permits because it was basically the same size and various things that I can't answer, but Richard back there can if you need him to. But the requirement then was for HPC review. So in order for this to be an approved project, to report then to the PDA that it's been approved, it had to have received HPC approval. But now the approval or disapproval is at the council level.
And it was approved. The HPC did approve this, but contingent on two factors.
Richard, is there anything you want to add to that? Is that something that needs clarification from the building department?
Come on down.
Sorry. Richard Bigelow, building official for the city of Pocatello. The only thing is that he could have chosen a different color from the frame manufacturer. So he could have done a black or any kind of color that would help mimic the colors that were there on site instead of doing the aluminum frame itself. It'd still be aluminum, but it'd just be a colored aluminum frame than the aluminum color.
Okay.
So, and then on the questions earlier about the vinyl windows, storefront windows are neither built out of wood or the aluminum cakes. They're not like a residential home window. So they need that structural integrity of that frame to hold everything together because of the size.
Okay.
I just learned something. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Education's very valuable and sometimes very expensive. Thank you very much. Other questions or comments that anyone would like to make before we take a vote?
I would just make one last comment, kind of reinforcing what Heidi said too. I mean, regardless of the decision we make tonight on this, any projects that require some kind, a certificate of appropriateness need to go through that process.
Correct.
So this isn't then approval of anyone who wants to do something similar in the future.
Okay. Heidi, do you have a motion for us?
Yes, I would like to move, let me make sure I'm stating it correctly. I move that we grant the appeal of the HPC's conditions and that we accept the current anodized aluminum windows and authorize a certificate of appropriateness for those windows.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Manon. Additional discussion. Connie, please call the roll.
Adamson.
Yes.
Manon.
Yes.
Cheatham.
Yes.
Lurick.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes. There's a very fine, handsome young man in the audience that would like to sit in this chair, and I'm very happy to let him. And I'll take my, no, there's the book there. I'll take that one.
Okay. Thank you, Council President.
I can get that. Thank you.
This is a picture.
Wow, well, thank you very much. I'll tell you, I had never actually sat over in the seats down there, and it's nerve-wracking to sit over there. It's more scary there than it is here. I don't know what happened there, what that's all about. But anyway, as most of you, I apologize for being late. I had a speaking engagement, and so I needed to do that. So I thank President Johnston for covering for us for a little while. I appreciate that.
There were people keeping track of how many mistakes I made, so it's when we got here, they were running out of things.
Well, I guarantee you, we didn't make any mistakes.
You did great.
But also, you might be wondering why I have a Idaho Vandals tie on.
You lost, huh?
And you know how much I am a ISU Bengals fan. But we had a bet with the mayor of Moscow Mayor Lambert's. And Mayor Lambert's team happened to win this year. Last year it was great because ISU won. I don't think it's that great this year. But I will tell you this. I will tell you, my wife and I went up there. We had a great time. Mayor Lambert and his wife are incredible people. They hosted us. I got to ride in their homecoming parade and throw candy out there and the works. I had my Bengal orange on at the time. Nobody cared. They were getting candy. But I've got to wear the tie, and so I just want to make sure that you know why I've got the tie on. And so we'll see what happens next year. Come on, Bengals, you got to do something for me. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead. Enough of distraction now. We'll go ahead and continue on. Agenda item number 10. Is that where we are? Yes, sir. Lease agreement, Big Mama's House Incorporated. Council may wish to authorize the mayor to execute on behalf of the city a lease agreement with Big Mama's House Incorporated for the use of city property located at 429 Washington Street. Said property shall be used as administrative offices for Big Mama's House and shall be subject to certain conditions specified in the lease agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the lease agreement with Big Mama's House and authorize you to sign.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnston and a second by Lurick.
May I ask a question or have some?
Absolutely.
Yeah, do we have a representative here?
It looks like...
Yes, would you be willing to come up here? Would you be able to just give us a quick overview of the types of things that will be done here at this property? And then I also wanted to make a request that once you're up and running in this facility, could we, I don't know exactly how, this doesn't need to be part of the motion, I don't think, but tell me if it does. But could we have them come in 9 months and give us a report on like what they've been able to do and help and how that's benefited the city and kind of give us a report on that?
So yeah, I don't know why we would put it as the motion, but I'm sure they'd be happy to come tell us about it. So,
I just want to make that request so we can get that on a future agenda because we'd love to hear the successes and
as often as you want.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, you asked me a question, but I got sidetracked. What was the question?
Just what types of things will be done here and how it will be beneficial to the city?
So right now, if you've ever been into Praise Temple of God Church, they've got, when you first walk in, they've got a room that's, I forget how big that is, maybe 14 by 20, something like that. And in that, they've got 5 desks, and it's just everybody standing on top of each other. When somebody comes in and says they need help, they don't have a place in private that they can discuss anything. And so we want to be able to have each one of these workers, employees, be able to sit down at their desk and not be interrupted, as well as have an office where if somebody comes in, they're not sharing their whole life story with everybody.
So Ed, before you go anywhere else or anybody asks another question, would you please introduce yourself to everybody that's not here, that's watching online?
Yeah, I'm Ed Snell, president of the board for Big Mama's House. And since there is other people listening, I think I'm owed an explanation as to why Jim ran when I came up here.
Are there any other questions?
How many people are going to be working in this building?
Right now we have 5, and that goes up and down a little bit depending on the people that we have are mostly Vista volunteers, and their wages, in case you haven't heard, are like $8.50 an hour. And so as their life situation changes, they move on. And so there'd be a time when that number would go down. Then when we bring replacements in, it would come back up. So it's kind of a flux, but approximately that.
Who will manage the facility?
Big Mama is going to be in charge. She's the executive director. She has a team of people right now that work with her over at Praise Temple of God that have indicated they would help. We've had so many people volunteer to help with so many things. We just had a volunteer this week say, hey, myself and our group will come over and paint the place for you. So it's one of those things where we're very blessed to have a ton of community input.
And all of those people are familiar with the restrictions this lease provides?
Yes.
No cooking, no residence, all of those things?
Oh, yes, we've been over that numerous times. In fact, Mr. Johnson pulled me in again, lost track of time, last week, it was last week, and wanted to reiterate that to make sure I understood. We'd already discussed that with the board, they're all clear. I reiterated that with Pastor Jackie, so it's been discussed many times.
And the board understands maintenance on that building is theirs?
Yes.
And speaking of that, and also the volunteer help from the community, I understand you're getting a furnace, a new
That's right.
furnace put in?
Yeah, he asked me about it again.
Okay.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
Are you planning any other renovations?
No.
Okay.
Super. Okay, thank you.
The rest of the story on that is Ed and I used to play basketball together, and the only reason I got to play is my company bought the jerseys.
No comment.
What a trophy.
All right, so we have a motion by Council President Johnston and a second by Lurick. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Johnston?
Yes.
Lurick?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Yes.
Manon?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 11, resolution, clean energy. Council may wish to adopt a resolution supporting Idaho Power's commitment to 100% clean energy, clean electricity, and committing to continuing to work toward a fully clean energy system. The proposed resolution was discussed at the September 12, 2019 work session and October 17, 2019 City Council Liaison Work Session Clarification Meeting.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Lurick.
I would like to make the motion that the council adopt the resolution supporting Idaho Power's commitment to 100% clean electricity and committing to continue to work towards a fully clean energy system.
Second.
We have a motion by Lurick and a second by Adamson, but before you call the roll, I do want to acknowledge and thank Councilwoman Lurick for taking the lead on this and making sure that we got this put on an agenda and making sure that we followed through with this. It was great work, and I appreciate all that you have done on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it's a great thing for our community. With that being said, we have a motion by Lurick and a second by Adamson. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Lurick?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Reluctantly, yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Manon?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 12, right-of-way acceptance, North Gate Parkway. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you. I will tell you, it is neat and it's fun, but we're in a business meeting, and so we appreciate the applause. Please do that tomorrow when you read the paper. Thank you. Agenda item 12, right-of-way acceptance, North Gate Parkway. Council may wish to accept the North Gate Parkway right-of-way west of Olympus Road roundabout to the east right-of-way of Interstate 15, exit 73 interchange. If accepted, authorize the mayor to sign the right-of-way plat map for the North Gate Parkway right-of-way subject to conditions.
Mr. Mayor, I move we accept the right-of-way for the Northgate Parkway and authorize you to sign the documents subject to any legal...
No, we need to put the conditions on. Okay, I guess you can.
He didn't.
He didn't? And you don't want to?
Well, I'm seconding his motion. I'm not amending his motion. You can do that.
So we have a motion and a second. Did your motion include the conditions? With conditions?
With conditions and with the anticipation of an amendment.
It is with conditions.
Yes, with conditions.
I would accept
Okay,
that amendment.
So the motion, if I just want to be clear, was to accept the right-of-way, allow the mayor to sign the plat with conditions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're good with that? Okay, we had some excitement. Do we want to talk about this?
Yeah, I think we just needed to talk about the conditions. One of the conditions is that the landscaping will be approved by the city, and I think we just need a clarification that the landscaping as is does not meet our expectations. There are some weeds and things that need to get taken care of, and we were also told that there would be some more shrubbery or different landscaping things beyond rocks and weeds, and so we need to make sure that I don't know how to address that other than what's written in the conditions, but we need to make sure that it meets with the staff's I don't know how.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do I-
So really, truly, just with the
I mean, maybe the
motion,
conditions are adequate, but we need to.
It's with the conditions, and the number 2 is landscaping for the section of roadway will be approved by the city and installed by the developer at the developer's expenses. So
We are still expecting additional
yes.
requirements to be met on
It would
that.
certainly be nice to have that done before the grand opening on December 7th.
Yes.
So we show our best, put our best foot
It
forward.
would be nice. We'll have staff working with them as much as they can with it to do it. And we'll do that. And then it also has lights. The lighting will not be able to be installed by
talked
then.
about that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's those other, what was the word?
The temporary delineation.
Delineation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you need Merrill to
Do you need Merrill to address any of those?
Do you feel that that's adequate, Merrill, or do we need to give some more clarification to that for your purposes?
Merrill Quill, the Public Works Engineer for the City of Pocatello. I wrote that in there so that it was broad enough that we gave us some latitude there also. However, when we get broad, sometimes we lose some of the details. So what we're expecting is that there is a plan that's still to be brought forward, and that we as staff can look at that to make sure that it meets water-wise, for instance, low maintenance, but yet still is appealing. So that's what we're shooting for, is that approval, the plans to come in that we can approve, and then the developer still has the obligation to put that in. You asked about before the ribbon cutting, and that's probably not going to happen. It'll probably be a next year situation before that's in.
Do we, since this is very general and broad, do we need to, do you need any instruction from us on including shrubbery or things of that nature that had been talked about by the developer previously, or how do we?
It could always help when we get a little bit more clarification and direction that the council is wanting to see. As far as, the interpretation of landscaping, a percentage of shrubbery and so forth, and canopy cover. As explained, it'll be the next item. But in the middle island, down Olympus, for instance, there's the sanitary sewer, which is a big line, and then that's where the lighting will also go with the big foundations. Once you have the lighting there in the middle and start trying to grow trees in the middle, and that you start diminishing the shadowing of the lights and so forth. So having to look at maybe the landscaping is more on the outside versus the inside and so forth. So, but any direction that thou would want to give us, I would take that under consideration, or even bringing landscaping back before council with that. I don't know if we want to get that deep into the woods, but that could also be an opportunity for council to relook at that and comment.
When would be an appropriate time? I mean, do we have to have that on another Is that something that he could bring to us at a work session?
I think you could bring that to a work session, and we could get some clarification to them for what it looks like.
I mean, at the end of the day, what you're looking at in the second condition is that it will be approved by city and installed by the developer at developer's expense, thus a landscaping. I mean, once, as Merrill said, once you have a plan, and once we're a little closer to where, I think perhaps at a work session, you could bring something, all right, this is what we're looking at. You thumbs up, thumbs down, we're okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we have somewhere in the record that, as it is right now, does not meet our expectation for what would be approved by the city, and we are expecting some additional.
I think it would be appropriate in the motion to help staff to bring it back to a work session for that approval. And that way, that gets that point across that I think you're trying to make.
Okay.
Can I ask Meryl one more question? You said that the landscaping was not likely to happen before the ribbon cutting. Could we at least stipulate that the weeding be done, like that it be cleaned up and made more presentable before the ribbon cutting?
I can definitely stress that to the developers.
Okay.
And that's the best I can do. But I will definitely stress that tomorrow to the developers, and that's council's wish.
Okay, I would like to make an amendment to the motion to include direction for staff to bring back the landscaping plan to the council at a work session for us to review.
Okay. We have an amendment to the motion. Do we have a second to the amendment?
Second. Do we get to second or just?
You can.
Second.
Okay, we have an amendment to the motion made by Adamson to add the words "come to a work session" to explain and show what we're doing,
The landscape renderings.
and the second by Manon. So any other discussion? I might just add that we've got a great staff. I'm not opposed to this, but I don't want the city council to start getting in the habit of micromanaging builds, developments, things like that. That's a slippery slope, I'm afraid, but I recognize that we want this to look the way we expect it to look, and so.
I think it's part of the motion in terms of the landscape and also, I don't know if we're overreaching, but is that all right, I'm assuming?
Well, I think it's clear what we're looking for. I think it's clear what we're looking for, and I think it's okay to bring it in front of bring it back. I would just caution micromanaging developments and things like that if this motion passes. So we have a motion and then we have a second motion with an amendment. The motion by Councilwoman Adamson and seconded by Manon. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Wait, are we voting on the amendment or the motion?
You have
the amended
motion.
You have
the amended motion.
You have a superseding motion to the first motion.
Yeah.
So that's what you're voting.
superseding, it was an
Not
amendment.
superseding at all. It's just an addition to, so it's an amendment
It
to my
needs to be
motion.
approved first.
Vote on the amendment.
does.
Okay, so we're voting, thank you. We're voting on the amendment to the motion. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Adamson,
Yes.
Manon,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes,
Lurick,
Yes.
Okay, now we're voting on the motion
as amended.
as amended. So we have a motion by Johnston and a second by Cheatham as amended. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Johnston,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Adamson,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Manon.
Yes.
Super, thank you. Okay, we'll move to agenda item 13 is right-of-way acceptance Olympus Drive. Council may wish to accept the Olympus Drive right-of-way from Chubbuck Road north through the roundabout if accepted, authorize the mayor to sign the right-of-way plat map for the Olympus Drive right-of-way subject to conditions.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the Olympus Drive right-of-way from Chubbuck Road through the roundabout and authorize you to sign the right-of-way plat map for the Olympus Drive right-of-way subject to the conditions that have been presented to us.
including the same conditions.
Absolutely.
That were on the
That
previous?
condition that was added on by our amendment to the last.
Okay.
So we have a motion by President Johnston and a second by Manon. Is there any more discussion on this?
Don't you wish you'd better gone a little longer?
Yeah, I'm thinking I could go speak again somewhere else. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Johnston?
Yes.
Manon?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, that was painful, but I think we got through it. Agenda item 14, TSA grant reimbursement application, police. Council may wish to permit the police department to apply and participate in a Transportation Security Administration TSA law enforcement officer reimbursement program subject to legal department review. The program provides partial reimbursement for the cost of assigning officers to the TSA screening checkpoint at the Pocatello Airport during screening operations for departing flights.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd move we approve agenda item number 14, the TSA grant reimbursement application by the police department.
Second.
We have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Lurick. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham?
Yes.
Lurick?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Manon?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 15, ITD grant resolution and agreement airport. Council may wish to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution grant agreement and other pertinent documents as part of the acceptance of the grant offer from the Idaho Transportation Department Division Aeronautics, ITD. The grant is for $15,000 to reimburse expenses incurred against the fiscal year 2020 airport improvement project consisting of rehabbing pavements on taxiway A, North FOB apron and terminal apron, rehab the runway lighting, electrical vault, and replacing the rotating beacon on the ATC tower. The state requires a resolution which is included in the grant agreement. The grant requires city expenditures of $292,834.53, which will be funded using budgeted airport passenger facility charge funds already allocated to the projects.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move we approve agenda item number 15, ITD grant resolution and agreement for the airport. Authorize the mayor to sign the resolution and subject to legal department review.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Manon and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Manon?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Yes.
Lurick?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 16, TAP application for construction of multi-use pathway from Terry Street to Pocatello Creek Road. The Trails Working Group and Portneuf Greenway Foundation request the City Council support for submission of 2 draft transportation alternative programs TAP project application to the Idaho Transportation Department in the amount of $500,000 each. The final application will be considered at a later meeting. TAP grant funds would be used for construction of 2 multi-use trail sections from Terry Street to Pocatello Creek Road. The Portneuf Greenway Foundation will provide the required 7.34% matching funds for the grant. The City of Pocatello will have full ownership of the trails upon completion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the Trails Working Group and Portneuf Greenway Foundation's request to submit 2 draft TAP project applications to the Idaho Transportation Department in the amount of $500,000 each.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Lurick and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Lurick?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Yes.
Manon?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 17, TAP grant application for public works projects. Council may wish to consider the following requests regarding public works projects. A, South 5th Avenue Sidewalk Transportation Alternatives Program TAP grant application. 1, application for a TAP grant in the amount of $500,000, and if awarded, 2, authorize the mayor to sign the program agreement form outlining the program. The grant will be used to fund a 1.3-mile sidewalk project running from Samuel Street to Bannock County Sheriff's Office on the east side of South 5th Avenue. The design will be done in-house this year, 2019, by the engineering department, and if awarded, the construction should start in 2021. A 7.34% local match is required, or $36,700, which is recommended to come from Fund 70. And B, Center Street Pedestrian Bridge Transportation Alternative Program TAP grant application. 1, application for a TAP grant in the amount of $422,600, and if awarded, 2, authorize the mayor to sign the program agreement form outlined in the program. The grant will be used for the construction of a pedestrian bridge over Center Street, pathway leading to and from the pedestrian bridge, the landscape restoration of the park at Center Street in Old Town, Pocatello. A 7.34% local match is required, $31,020, which is recommended to come from Fund 70.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve agenda item number 17, the TAP grant applications for public work projects. Authorize you to sign it and subject to legal department review.
Second.
We have a motion by Manon and a second by Cheatham. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Manon.
Yes.
Cheatham.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Lurick.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 18, Port of Health Trust Agreement for funding, acquisition,
Acquisition.
and use of the recreational trail building equipment. The council may wish to consider approval of an agreement with Port of Health Trust subject to legal department review for the funding, acquisition, and use of recreational trail building equipment. Whereas A, Port of Health Trust donates funding for the purchase of specialized trail building equipment for the purpose of constructing new recreational trails and maintaining existing trails for the use and enjoyment of the community. And B, City Parks and Recreation Department assumes ownership and ongoing no-cost use of the equipment, and also houses and administers use of the equipment to other qualified lessees. The proceeds of which, I lost my place here, I don't know how, it's big wording. The proceeds of which will be used to maintain the equipment.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to move for approval of agenda item number 18, the Port of Health Trust Agreement for funding and acquisition and use of recreation trail building equipment.
Second.
I'm going with Johnston on that one. He beat you out. Thank you. We have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Lurick.
Yes.
Manon.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 19, piggyback bids, lease purchase for water department. Council may wish to accept the recommendations of staff and award the following piggyback bids, and if they are accepted, authorize the mayor to sign the necessary documents subject to legal department review. The amounts have been budgeted for the water department's fiscal year 2020 budget. The piggyback bids are A, compactor Sourcewell contract number 032119 CAT with Western States Caterpillar for the lease of one 2019 Caterpillar CB34B vibrator double drum asphalt compactor in the amount of $55,341.84 with 5 annual payments of $8,319.84 each. B, loader, Sourcewell contract number 032119 CAT with Western States Caterpillar for the lease of one 2019 Caterpillar 938M wheel loader in the amount of $160,128.08 with 5 annual payments of $11,169.84 each. The Water Department will be trading in one 1994 wheel loader and one 1997 asphalt reclaimer, which provides a total of $50,000 trade-in value. and C, reclaimer, HBAC by contract with asphalt zipper for the purchase of one 480X-200E asphalt reclaimer stabilizer in the amount of $169,600.
Mr. Mayor, could we have an explanation from the department in terms of why we are leasing rather than buying on this lease equipment?
Yes, I'm glad you didn't ask exactly what all the numbers were.
No.
Because
Is that all right, Rick?
I give up.
Hi, Justin Armstrong, Water Superintendent. So one of the main reasons that we lease these particular pieces of equipment is because of the wear and tear, the high wear and tear on especially the compactor. A compactor is known for heavy compaction. There is a lot of vibratory moving parts within those, and with those components, they beat themselves up, essentially. Experience with even Western states that even their rental equipment, they only operate those for a 2-year period before they move on and don't loan those out so that they still have some sort of remaining value. So we don't necessarily lease all of our equipment that we have, but there are particular items that experience a high wear and tear. It also maintains a 5-year warranty under the operating lease of those pieces of equipment. If that piece of equipment is down at any point in time due to maintenance or other things, it is replaced by the supplier of a like kind, so that we're not down in our construction and operation in times of need. So we feel that there's definite value to leasing versus purchasing on these.
Thank you very much for that explanation. It's well done. Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve this action item number 19 and approve A, B, and C, subject to any legal review, and have you sign whatever needs to be signed.
Second.
thank you. We have a motion by Council President Johnston and a second by Lurick. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Johnston.
Yes.
Lurick.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Cheatham.
Yes.
Manon.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 20, declaration of surplus equipment and sale guidelines. Council may wish to accept the recommendations of staff to declare the following items as surplus and sell of same as outlined below. A, fire apparatus. Declare surplus unauthorized sale of 3 1994 Pierce fire apparatus to the following: Southeast Idaho Fire District, Aramo 6,500.
And the city of Rockland provided their dollar amount.
Yeah, okay, yes. And the city of Rockland, 12,000 to 15,000. I believe that's depending on the equipment and the shape the equipment's in. And North Bannock County Fire Department, 12,000. The apparatus have no functional life left for the city of Pocatello. And B, street salt storage structure. Declare the surplus and authorize sale of the salt storage structure located near the old street department building. The structure cannot be relocated without specialty services and does not fit the current geographic of the new Public Works Annex property. If approved, authorize disposal of the structure in whatever way is most advantageous to the city. And C, discard dump truck bed. Declare surplus and authorize the sale of a discarded dump truck bed located at the Public Works Annex. The dump truck bed was left behind by the previous property owners of 2405 Garrett Way. The equipment is not in operational condition and does not fit any of the city's current equipment. If approved, authorize disposal of the equipment in whatever way is most advantageous to the city.
Questions for staff?
Okay, which staff?
Fire.
Fire.
Mayor, Council, Travis Smith, Pocatello Fire Department, Assistant Chief Operations.
Hello. Could you please give us a little more detail on the three apparatus? Are they equal in value currently, or is one of them worse than the others, or should they be all about the same?
Now, there's definitely a difference between two of them are probably in equitable condition, and I would call it fair. One of them has higher mileage, been run a little bit harder, and has some mechanical issues that we haven't repaired, just because it's been in storage. So it cracked a manifold gasket on it during the winter storage, and some piping and plumbing. So it's going to need some repair. It's in good running order, but it's not going to serve as a fire apparatus until somebody puts several $1,000s into it. So probably $4,000.
That's the one going to Aramo?
Well, however, that's the way I would see it. The persons that are paying the more would get the lower mileage, lower hours, and kind of if you were going to pay 15, you'd kind of get your pick, I guess would be the best way to do it. Only one of them has asked to go through for performance testing with them. And so we had one apparatus that stayed in service longer than the others due to an accident and some other difficulties. So that one's actually in better shape. It didn't set as long.
So these offers are not for a specific piece of apparatus?
No, they are not for a specific.
Is the equipment on each of the trucks comparable?
There is no equipment on the trucks. There may be some ladders left over that haven't been tested this year. We took all the good equipment off of them. We had replacement ladders. So there should be no equipment other than what's attached, bolted down, and necessary for the apparatus to pump and roll.
But we can make the decision then to give the lowest
one in the
lowest bid, the one in the worst shape?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we know which ones those are. I just didn't bring their VIN numbers and their identifiers.
Yeah.
I need to sit down with our EVT, and one of them has a list of maintenance records, and the other one has been a pretty healthy vehicle. And one of them's kind of in between, but from a mileage and hour standpoint, is really they're 6 of one, half dozen the other. Actually, the one with the lowest miles actually is the one that's the most broken. So.
I'm concerned that this agenda item's a little premature. I feel like the offers that we're getting ought to be made on a specific vehicle and a firm number. And I don't feel like that yet, Travis.
Okay.
Especially where there's a range of offer of $3,000 difference. I guess I'm concerned about that.
Well, it's based on the performance testing, and at this juncture, we won't fill our pit back up just due to freezing and stuff like that, so they're going to have to locate somewhere else to do the performance testing on it. So they'll come in and performance test them, and we have a pretty good idea which one's going to perform better than the other ones. And so that's why the range was in there. I did ask him to be more specific on what he was offering for the vehicle. That's after his second one, this is what it came back as, so I can only ask for so much, and I left them up to them to decide how much they could afford and pay for the apparatus. So we can go back to them and ask to be more specific. We can associate VIN numbers. It'll take a little bit of time, just because they are going to want some performance testing that is not going to be easy to do in the wintertime.
Do you feel these bids are fair given the equipment?
I think two of them are. I think one's a little low.
This Aramo?
Yeah, I think that's a little low. I think that as we've talked, it's really hard to get any real true value out of these because of the market saturation of newer vehicles in better shape with lower mileage and more options, bigger pumps, all kinds of package deals. And so they really don't have a whole lot of value, but that $10,000, $12,000 range is really what all the third-party sellers would say they would ask for them. And they're real tentative to give you that because they don't even like, just housing them to sell them on their websites and properties just because they have too much consigning. That's the word I was looking for. So it's been really difficult over the last year to keep pinning them down on pricing. And so you can drive around and ask the North Bannock County Fire District how hard it is to get good fire apparatus, and you'll see dozens of trucks like these sitting in farmers' fields. you'll just see them sitting there. They just park them on the side of the road and let them oxidize away, because at 94 they meet no national standard, and so it's really an organization that just needs something better. As you can see in the Aramo one, or sorry, I think it was the Rockland one, how old their newest piece of apparatus is. It's pretty old. So these are yet better than them, and so we can certainly visit that, or you could give me guidance to give the best shape one based on our EBT's maintenance records, mileage, whatever.
I think there's got to be a way in which we can authorize our fire department to do some negotiating. I feel the same way you do, that the 6,500 is a little bit on the low side, but I feel comfortable with the other two prices, and if we can get Aramo to come up and leave that up to the fire people, we want to get this equipment gone and get them using it if it's usable.
Were these the only offers you had?
Well, we targeted these guys because they had asked for them. I didn't have any other offers because we didn't ask. These guys had come, they generally have employees that have worked for us in the past. They rub shoulders with our employees, and so they knew they were coming up for surplus, and so they asked. But we went around the advertising things, and this was the guidance I was given to kind of zone in on these three, most likely because they're going to be mutual aid partners. Even North Bannock County found the deal on the fire truck they have is quite a bit better deal than what they're getting. But they need a backup fire truck right now. They need one, and they don't have a lot of money to do that. So,
What I would like to do, if the rest of the council thinks it's appropriate, is authorize the sale to Rockland for $15,000, with the understanding that if their tests don't come through and something more needs to be done, you could come back to us and say, hey, we need to deduct it based on this, and then we could authorize that. But if everything comes out great, then they can get that one and move forward. And that we would also authorize the one for the North Bannock County Fire Department, if that is a reasonable offer from our staff's perspective. But I would like to hold off on the other one, given the fact that that is, it seems quite low, and I'd like to see if there's some other offers that come in. I think we have that duty to our taxpayers to make sure we're getting the most value out of that equipment. And if nobody buys it, Dina and I do have our idea that we've talked about before for that engine.
And could that include giving Aramo the option to go higher?
Yes,
if they're
they could always
interested?
come back and present something else, and then we could have that on a future. But I would say let's just wait until they do, rather than.
we do need a surplus then in order for us to advertise them to be for sale, I believe. Rich, maybe you can give me some guidance on that. They haven't been surplus yet.
I guess, yes, they need to be, right here, you're looking at declaration of surplus with proposed, well, this is what staff has come up with. So, one, you need to declare all three of these surplus, one, and then you can direct staff as to specifically, or we'll go talk turkey, or if you want to accept the bid or the purchase from North Bannock and the 15 from Rockland. You can dice it up that way, but the first step is you need to declare it surplus, but you can provide guidance to staff as to how it's disposed.
I would move in agenda item number 12 to declare A, B, and C surplus equipment for disposal.
Second. Okay.
Question real quick.
Just 1 second. We have a motion by Cheatham and a second by Johnston, and we have a question by Adamson.
If nobody then wants to buy that other one, can we unsurplus it for our other purposes? If it's declared as surplus?
No, we cannot. It's surplus is surplus. We are not setting up a selfie picture taking with the fire truck. We are not doing that. You are on the council, and as on the council, even an employee of the city, we could not let you do that.
Mayor, just a point of clarification.
Would do it, not
These are not your
your
quintessential 1970 Seagraves, okay, or 1960 Seagraves. These are not pretty fire trucks. They're really not one I'd want my picture taken with, other than I started on them. So you can come take a look at them. They're staying at Station 2 right now. They're not what I'd call a sexy truck.
But aren't they cool and vintage?
Are they like, yeah?
They are.
Do they belong in a museum?
What's that?
Do they belong in a museum?
No. They belong in a farmer's field.
You guys are killing me right now.
We had a vision.
I know you had a vision.
I can search for you more vintage style for probably the same price or less.
Once that, not in Sterling in a junkyard, it'd be beautiful for that.
You can drag it down here.
If you can find the bell is worth more money than the truck.
All right, surplus.
Thank you for asking the question, but no, the answer to that is going to be a no. Okay, so we have a motion to declare A, B, and C as surplus. Motion was by Cheatham, the second was by Johnston. Is there any other questions? Sorry to crush a dream tonight. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Lurick?
Yes.
Manon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye fire trucks.
By fire truck.
approve the sale.
Do you want to talk about the sale of these things? What are your wishes?
I don't want to have to see it again. I would just assume that we authorize
Yeah,
our...
you know what we want. We're good.
Authorize our fire people to make the decision accepting the 15 and the 12.5, but on the...
And try to get more from
Yeah.
Paramount.
And try to get more on the,
If it's worth more, it ought to be paid. They ought to pay more for it.
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable if we just authorize the ones we feel comfortable with, and if we did see the other one come back before us.
Could the mayor, excuse me, Travis Smith, could the mayor approve that if I could get $12,000 of them as a contingency to that? That way I don't have to come back to you guys. If I can get $12,000 out of it, sell it to them.
Before we throw that 12,000, you said it's got a crack block and stuff like that. It's going to take a couple $1,000s to fix. 4,000 to fix.
so what about?
Council, are you
10?
okay with 10?
I'd go to 10.
With 10, knowing that they're going to have
Remind us what
to...
you thought the value of these...
10 to 12.
10 to 12?
Yeah, their interior's beat up, torn. I mean, they're fair condition, so.
I would be willing to accept 10 on that one.
So if the council's okay with me just making sure that we get
Best deal.
the 10,000, then I'm okay. If it's below 10, then we'll bring it back.
Reconsider.
We can reconsider it. You okay with that, Councilwoman Adamson?
I don't know.
She's not. She wants that
Councilman
selfie
Cheatham
picture.
okay with it?
It's gone already.
Yeah, I mean, we just still have a hard time
anytime
thinking
you
that those are only worth $10,000. That just seems super low.
I know it is, but
It's 25 years old.
it's
Yeah.
almost 30.
But even the ones in better condition are only 12.
And there's oxidation in the aluminum, which is rust for aluminum. You're picturing a very these trucks have been ran hard. They have 120,000 miles of hard use and 8 to 10,000 hours on them. And they've served their functional life. They did what they were supposed to do. It's just like running the tires off of a car, you know. They have a little bit. They'll probably work for your high school kid, you know, to get them back and forth to school. But they're just not.
You can have high school kids driving fire trucks to the...
They don't go fast, so maybe you're okay.
That's
another dream.
When's the last time these engines were run? Used, pumps were used, and they were actually used?
So one was in March, and the other ones were probably November of last year. They sat through the whole winter. We just had that. We had an incident where we had a lady run in the back of a fire truck, so one had to be brought back into service and kept in service. The other ones were setting in service but weren't being used. And so they've been sitting outside for basically a year now, just getting weather beat, and like their batteries are gone in them. There's $400.
What's your
in that.
confidence that the pumps and things will actually work when they're turned on?
The one that pumped after winter last year, good. The other two, I'm not sure. We blow them out with air, but water gets stuck in the valves and stuff, and so sometimes it cracks them, or crack a manifold on a cooling line or something. And so confidence, 50-50, flip a coin, maybe it'll work. But they're getting them for $10,000, so they have some buffer or 12 to do that. So not a lot on the two. I wouldn't go too high, but the other one has been a good truck.
We good?
So is the motion for A only about the fire trucks?
No, the motion was for A, B, and C.
For declaration of surplus?
The declaration.
surplus,
We don't
correct.
have another motion.
For the sale, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I move we authorize these surplus engines to be sold for $15,000, $12,000, and get as close to $10,000 as possible out of the third one.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Council President Johnston and a second by Lurick.
Was the one for Rockland for
close to
15
seems
if
kind
it
of-
met the testing results?
Yes.
If it
that's-
did
that's
not
just what I
meet the
wanted to say.
testing results?
We could go to
He's
12.
having a hard time letting this one go.
Would you be willing to amend that motion to just say 10,000 and not as close to 10,000?
That's satisfactory with me.
Okay.
So is that satisfactory with the second as well?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Council President Johnson and a second by Lyric. I'm not going to ask for discussion anymore.
Can we
What's the
please
motion?
clarify the motion though, Mayor?
Yeah.
15,
Okay,
12, and at least 10.
would you like to?
15,000 to Rockland
If it meets the
if it
testing.
meets the test.
What if it doesn't?
If it doesn't, then get what we can.
That wasn't in the motion.
We'll come back to you at that point. Councilman. If we can't get the truck to pass performance measures, we'll revisit it. They're not going to want to buy a
They're not
truck that's
gonna buy
broken,
it,
so.
yeah.
And so we'll just come back, and that would be the only exception, is if we can't get them to pass the test, we'll come back and tell you what they will offer for a broken truck.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just the way I wanted it.
Are we good? Okay. I've been trying to do that here for a minute. So we have a motion by Johnston and a second by Lyric. Connie, could you please call the roll, unless you have a question on what the motion was?
I'll get it later.
Okay.
Did we do B and C?
This is only on the
This
fire
is
truck.
only on A.
Yes.
Fire
Yes.
trucks only.
Johnston,
Yes.
Lyric,
Yes.
Adamson,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Manon.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we have
Yes,
B
thank
and
you.
C.
So council, we have B and C to deal with here.
I move that since we have declared the street salt storage structure a surplus, that we authorize the disposition in whatever way is advantageous to the city.
Second.
So
I'm uncomfortable with that. I'd like to know who it's going to and for how much.
Idaho State University has expressed an interest in that. I don't know what that means. Tom, can you clarify?
Good evening, Tom Kirkman, Deputy Public Works Director. The salt storage shed is down at the old street department facility. It's a temporary structure is what it's called. It's basically a large canvas tent. For our purposes of where we're located, we can't fit this size of a structure anymore. We were approached and ISU had expressed interest in purchasing that from us. When we were down on First Street, we supplied sand and salt material to ISU. They paid for it. They would come over and get it. So they don't have a location currently where to stockpile their winter maintenance equipment. So we've discussed with Idaho State University, and they have submitted us a letter of intent to purchase it for $125,000, which we feel is a very fair price for both parties.
That includes the material that's currently out?
That is not. We'll take all that material with us.
I stand.
Same.
So was that same a second?
Yes, same as my second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What would it cost to replace that location?
So the structure, to just physically move it, we have to have a company come in and move it. We're not equipped to do that. It's a sprung structure. So it's roughly $20,000 to move it. And then it's gonna probably be another 15 to 20 to reestablish grade. We have to put blocks on it. We've got quotes for 50 by 50 structures, 3-sided structures that will house the materials for us. It's sized appropriately for the maximum quantity that we have for our budget. And to construct those 2 facilities, we're looking at about $75,000.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Council President Johnston, a second by Manon, to approve the B.
Not C.
Is C
And C,
included
we
in
did
that as well?
We just decided to put C in with that and get rid of it
Yeah,
any
it
way
was
that we
B and
can.
C.
Oh, it was B and C.
Doesn't that make you happy that we don't want to make a parklet out of the dump truck bed?
I didn't think that far out. I did not think that far out.
No, I'm saying we don't. Aren't you glad?
Yes, I
Maybe
am.
we should discuss that.
So we have a motion by Council President Johnson and a second by Manon for B and C of agenda item, what is this, 19?
20.
20, agenda item 20. Connie, could you please call the roll? No, I don't want you to.
Oh, you want a parklet on?
Could you please call the roll?
Johnston.
Yes.
Manon.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Cheatham.
Yes.
Lurick.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I should have been here to start the meeting, obviously.
Yes, you should.
Stay away.
Or I should have stayed away, one of the two. I think it's the tie.
Yeah, it's got
I think it's the tie.
Wait till I see Bill.
That's for sure. Okay.
I'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
Okay, agenda item 20 is an ordinance. Adopted an ordinance amending Pocatello Municipal Code Title 10, Chapter 16, Speed Regulations by amending Section 10.16.050, areas 35 miles per hour, to delete a portion of Bench Road and to add sections of Chubbuck Road and Olympus Drive to a speed limit of 35 miles an hour, and amending Section 10.16.060, areas of 45 miles per hour, to include a section of Olympus Drive and the newly constructed Northgate Parkway. Councilwoman Adamson.
I move the ordinance, agenda item number 21, be read only by title and placed on final passage for publication, and that only the ordinance summary sheet be submitted for publication.
Second.
We have a motion by Adamson and a second by Johnston. Yeah.
Could somebody tell me exactly what we're doing here? Are we increasing the speed from 35 to 45?
On the parkway.
I think we're establishing a 45 mile an hour speed limit on the new parkway.
Yeah, Merrill Quell, Public Works Engineer. The 35 mile an hour is from Pocatello Creek to Chubbuck Road. That is the current speed limit that is there at this time. And it is labeled as Bench Road, we noticed as we were going through here. And Bench Road, about 4 years ago, that section was changed to Olympus, going through the county and the city to change that name. So we're cleaning that up. Chubbuck Road, now coming into the city of Pocatello, the north half, needs to be in our ordinance, and it is currently at 35 miles an hour, and the county on their side has it also at 35 miles an hour, so we're adding that street. The 245 mile an hour are the bigger boulevards that has just been constructed. So they're the new streets that's there and established with the speeds that we put in there and the signage and that at 45 miles an hour, and just adding them into the ordinance where we just accepted the right of way earlier this evening. Does that help?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we still have a motion by Adamson and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Cheatham.
Yes.
Lurick.
Yes.
Manon.
Yes.
Thank you. Rich, could you please read the ordinance?
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Pocatello, a municipal corporation of Idaho, revising Title 10, Chapter 16, Speed Regulations of the revised and compiled ordinances of the City of Pocatello in 1983. More particularly by amending sections 10.16.050, areas of 35 miles per hour, to delete a portion of Bench Road and to add sections of Chubbuck Road and Olympus Road to a speed limit of 35 miles an hour, and amending section 10.16.060, areas 45 miles per hour, to include a section of Olympus Drive and a newly constructed Northgate Parkway to a speed limit of 45 miles per hour, providing that all other sections of Chapter 10.16 shall remain in full force and effect, providing that this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law.
I declare that to be the final reading of the ordinance. Shall the ordinance pass?
Adamson?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Lurick?
Yes.
Knopf?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 22, discussion items. This time has been set aside to hear discussion items not listed on the agenda. Items which appear somewhere else on the agenda will not be discussed at this time. The council is not allowed to take any official action at this meeting on matters brought forward under this agenda item. Items will either be referred to the appropriate staff or scheduled on a subsequent agenda. You must sign in at the start of the meeting in order to be recognized. As a reminder, there will be a total of 3 minutes per speaker and 15 minutes for this agenda item. We have one speaker, Nikki Taysom.
Thank you, Nikki Taysom, General Delivery, Pocatello, Idaho 83201. The Pledge of Allegiance restated. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The preamble of the Constitution states, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." John Adams stated, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." I'm here again. I was prompted to sit on some arraignments at the courthouse. I'm calling on this council, as well as the county and the city of Chubbuck and everybody I can, to shut down the public, commercial production, distribution, sale, and consumption of alcohol and tobacco, vape, and other harmful addictive substances, including pornography. There were 2 young adults there for DUIs. They were young, barely 18-year-olds. One also had a paraphernalia for drugs, the other was in possession of meth. These are our future leaders in defense and parents, and they're being destroyed. And I just sat there thinking, what an act of hypocrisy, that we allow these things to be sold and marketed to cause their very destruction. And then they stand in a court of law and in a jail and pay the cost for it. I was raised around 2 alcoholic uncles. Of their 8 children, 7 became involved in alcohol. 5 of those with drugs, 2 died of overdose, 1 destroyed her life with drugs and alcohol and is a dependent, and the other one was also involved in drugs but now is taking care of the one sister. The 8th died as a teenager in a snowmobile accident. We the people are the sovereignty. We promote the general welfare. We ensure the domestic tranquility. We provide the defense by our peace and obedience to God and our Constitution, our virtue as a nation. We're in the gutter at the cost of lives, at the cost of our future. I look at our little children. I hated being around my drunk uncles. I hated it. I've been standing against alcohol since I was 5 and tobacco. I look at our little children. I watch them in the grocery store as their parents buy alcohol and buy junk food to make up the rest, or with a Quest card because they can't afford it. We lose production, we lose health, we lose money through rehabs, group homes, foster care. We're losing, and you have taken an oath to protect our safety and health, our well-being, and our national security is even at risk at this point. I call on you in the name of Jesus. We will stand before God. He's given us this gift and this law. He will come against us.
Thank you very much.
In the name of Jesus.
Thank you. There are no others for the discussion items. So with that, thank you, council, for your work today. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. That was a long meeting. We appreciate it. We will go ahead and then adjourn.